I challenge for anyone to find a better Godzilla product than what we just seen with Godzilla minus one. Ricky Flex, we're gonna get into the Rotten Tomatoes, the synopsis, and then we'll get into this very exciting international feature. So what we got? Godzilla minus one, Rotten Tomatoes, 97% critics
Oof.
score, audience score, 98%. IMDb clocking in 8.5 out of 10. Synopsis simple. Japan is already devastated by the war when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster. Ricky Flicks, what did you know about this movie going in?
It's a great question. I knew it was foreign. I knew it was from Japan. I knew it was a complete standalone movie. So it wasn't related to the new MonsterVerse franchise made by Warner Bros. And Legendary. And I knew it was from the original Japanese company studio distributor Toho, who are literally the minds behind Godzilla. That's it. That's all I knew about this movie. And coming out of it, absolutely amazed. I again, like, I think there's parts of it where I think like, oh, like, all right, this could have been a little shorter. I think some things were played out a little too much. But for a Godzilla movie, let alone an action movie, a monster movie, this was absolutely outstanding.
This movie was breathtaking, bro. Like what it's interesting that you think of like all the commercial movies, the blockbusters we get, like what audiences want is like characters you care about that you come back to. And it seems like the Godzilla movies, Godzilla Kong, right? You don't care about the humans at all. You just care about how does Godzilla look on screen, right? And people are so concerned with these Godzilla like franchise films and projects building out the lore of Godzilla, okay? But this movie is the most human Godzilla movie of all time. Godzilla is not the main character of this movie, right? This movie, I was just blown away by how Godzilla fit into the context of the film, the timeline, the post World War II setting. I thought worked so well. And also, there were so many elements, and I could see like different inspirations from other films that were built into Godzilla minus one. And then it also had the iconic tropes of a Godzilla film, and it's executed so well. And it's only done on a $15 million budget. You can make insanely successful, right? Critically successful, like Godzilla, or this is kind of, it's sort of IP films without spending $200 million. Looking at you, Marvel. This movie is a big deal. Like this guy, this director, Takashi Yamakazi, look at him to do some American films after this, right? Look at this guy for some major IP, right? Going on Disney. He said he wants to do a Star Wars film. I'm interested. I'm interested, Ricky Flex. But I want to just start, I guess, like any response there. Thoughts on the setting post World War II, right? In Japan. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so first with the budget, yes, you're right. Should put big studios to shame. Should put Marvel, DC to shame. This is amazing. Should put the Godzilla movies to shame. One of those legendary. Like, God, I looked up some of the box office. Here we go. 2014 Godzilla movie. All right, that cost $160 million. The Kong Skull Island, that cost around $185 million, and then Godzilla King of the Monsters, that was $170 million, but there's reports that could have been higher than $200 million. And all those did well. They like doubled their budget pretty much worldwide, but still, like, this did it in a one domestic weekend and on $15 million. And the Godzilla
Crazy.
monster was pretty impressive, I would say.
International feature too. Like this is not made in America, and like it's like a good word of mouth movie, an
Yes.
excellent word of mouth movie going on right now, Ricky Flex. We know you love those.
Yes, this is the definition of a word of mouth movie because this debuted in Japan in early November. So like it's been around. It made like 23 million in Japan over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe less. So that's pretty good for Japan. But again, like I think for this movie, it's just again not like this is IP, but at the same time, it's not connected to a universe. It's a standalone with no big stars, nobody that you know, in Japanese. That's incredibly impressive. So like hats off to them, right? And I would say that shifting over to the setting, I think another thing that makes me like this a lot is it's an interesting take. I think this is what we need in these type of movies, is action monster movies, so they don't feel like we're repeating reinventing the wheel, right? Or no, sorry, that we're not like repeating ourselves, right? So like post World War II Japan, very fragile, right? Diminished, vulnerable, and it's Godzilla back to its roots in Japan, just like the 1954 film, which is about to turn 70, right? So I thought this was very interesting, and I think the title just depict the whole take here, where the title Godzilla minus one, it's like, oh, the new threat of Godzilla. It's bringing the country into the minus, basically. So even though I think the name itself is kind of lame, the meaning behind it is interesting to me. And if, they just had World War II, they're basically on the brink of collapse. And now Godzilla, not the US, not the Soviets, not another nuclear bomb, Godzilla is going to be the one to take them down literally to nothing, to rubble. I think it's so interesting, mixed in with a character family study, but still being a monster movie at its core with like 5 big Godzilla big sets sequences. Incredible, very well done. This is what we need in like these type of IP quote unquote movies. Interesting takes that we haven't seen before. Very well done. That are relatable.
This is like when we see like an IP project, and it's almost like a Marvel What If, where it's like you put them in a different setting. We've seen all these classic like Godzilla stories. Let's set it in 1946, 1947. Going in, I had no idea this was going to be a post-World War II story in Japan. I was jacked up when I found out this was going to be post-World War II. Oh my God. And they did such an amazing job adapting the context of like what Japan was like. Demilitarized Japan, right? Cold War implications also. No help from the US or Soviet Union. This is a traditionally Japanese character, all right? A lot of times Godzilla is known for terrorizing Japan. This director decided to take the Godzilla character and one of the weakest points in the 20th century in Japan, the weakest point, and then create a Japanese nationalistic type of story out of it. Holy crap. I mean, this is what we see in American films all the time, right? More or less just war movies, right? Inspiring nationalism. He used Godzilla to do it. That is nuts, right? I thought that was just incredible, like visionary, like to think of that type of idea. I was all in once I heard that. And to have it not focus on Godzilla, but this one man, right? They made this macro huge type of project and then kept on breaking it down with this one main character. And it all connects to his wartime trauma, the guilt that he feels, and his need, right, to redeem himself, right? I could criticize the really like Hollywood type of ending that it has, but I thought the treatment of Godzilla as a side character and a focus on this basically failed like soldier during World War II. We need more IP projects like this.
Yes, I agree. And I think, we're talking about this movie a lot. I'll bring us down a little bit back down to earth. You mentioned the Hollywood type of ending. I feel like the last hour to maybe 45 minutes of the movie, the third act, I'll say, I was like, all right, let's get going. Because they kept going on and on and on about how he's a kamikaze fighter and he failed. He's a loser. He's a coward. And it had that like sports movie feel to it for way too long. It's like, all right, we get it. He's gonna come back. He was a coward multiple times. He's gonna have that uplifting underdog story and come back and win us the day. Go to victory. It felt like the George Clooney rowboat movie coming out later.
Boys in the Boat.
Yeah, I literally was thinking about that while watching this movie. I'm like, this kind of feels like that movie now versus like a monster movie and this romantic family drama that we were dealing with. Now it's like, oh, it's like this sports type of uplifting movie, which is fine. But it's like, all right, like we're just going in circles a little bit with all the one-on-one scenes with our main character and a different person. And just literally, it was the same conversation with 4 different people in one-on-one scenes in the third act. I was like, we literally only needed one of these. It wasted like 25 minutes. This could have been 25 minutes shorter. And I think it would have, and again, for me, 25 minutes shorter, and it would have accomplished the same thing, if not like better, to be honest. It's less annoying. But overall, like, yeah, this was an action feel-good melodrama that was very well done.
You would say the drama they really laid it on. It was almost like too much a humanistic type of Godzilla movie, right? You only have 4 true scenes with Godzilla, and that kind of speaks to the $15 million budget, right? Somewhat extended time with Godzilla, right? And they really make it like it really packs a punch whenever Godzilla's on screen. But they really did like the dialogue, the one-on-one conversations, like building up of that main character. I agree that sometimes that I think that was that held back the movie a little bit. But I also want to talk about like the inspirations when I was seeing this movie. Like the first act, I was like, oh wait, are we getting like Jaws, like Godzilla movie? And it's like the wooden boat and them like trying to evade and then trap Godzilla. And then it goes to like a mainland post World War II romantic drama that has it's like people recovering after the wartime effort. And Godzilla disappears for a little bit, and then it goes to classic Godzilla film, him terrorizing, right, a major city in Japan. And then it goes to finally like a Dunkirk nationalistic type of feeling, the citizens getting and rallying together to take on this monster, right, this opposition, and this man flying through the air. Did you feel like inspirations from other movies kind of piling on here?
I definitely felt Jaws and Dunkirk, and the director here did mention that how those were
Oh, he
like
did?
did mention that those were influences on the
So
film.
smart.
And another one, the first movie though that I thought of immediately was Jurassic Park in the first scene.
Oh my God, good call. Good
Like
call.
that was immediately the first one. I was like, that's Jurassic Park. And again,
Horror
it's
scene.
the very first scene, and that was like a holy crap, we're here moment. And it was dark. And I should say before the movie, I also knew that the budget was only $15 million. So I was looking really closely at this Godzilla more than any other Godzilla. I was really being technical with it. And this first scene, like, oh, it's in the dark. Oh, maybe all these Godzilla scenes are going to be in the dark or like kind of shaded to kind of like cover up some of this budget. But I would say like the other Godzilla scenes, it was pretty effective. Like the only thing I would say, would be like, oh, the Godzilla is pretty robotic on land, but at the same time, it's like, oh no, but like you spin that and say, oh, it's pretty slow. It's 15,000 tons, and it's moving around like it's just stomping on things. Like it's not going to move like the speed of light. So I think it was fine. Like I thought this Godzilla was really well done. Like I think I prefer the other Godzilla in the MonsterVerse movies, like the look of that one and those CGI effects. But I think this one was more than fine.
Right. And I did want to talk about the look of Godzilla. In the new Godzilla, he looks amazing, right? He looks spectacular. The movie cares more about the commercial appeal, right, as opposed to a Godzilla -1, right? They just want to make sure it looks great on screen. It looks great when he fights Kong. Here, right, I think they did a great job of using the budget that they had, like minimally using that fire-breathing, like Godzilla here. And it was pretty, when you knew when he used it, right, it was a big deal, right? Because they're only going to do it like 2 or 3 times. And when he does it, you're like, oh, here we go, you know? And then I thought the look of Godzilla had more of the classic, like early 20th century look, where it's like the smaller head and the bigger body. Godzilla was looking thick in this movie. Thick, three
Well,
C's, massive thighs, a little bit of man boob action. He's got to tone up a little bit, but he was looking thick.
but yeah, like this was, like we mentioned, Jurassic Park, Dunkirk, and Jaws as inspirations. Clearly, they all were. But the most important inspiration was the original 1954 Godzilla movie that this company
Looks
also
like
did.
it.
And it did look like it. If you look at side-by-side pictures with Godzilla in Ginza in Japan, it looks exactly like it. When I say exactly, like the actual like frame, not obviously a person was in that suit in that one or whatever, so it's obviously not the same. But you know what I mean? Like the look looks the same. So yeah, I got at all like the budget was not a factor here. That's why like
No.
it's just like, and what I was like trying to decipher, like, all right, when I'm looking at the new Monarch again, MonsterVerse movies, I'm like, where's this budget going through the roof besides CGI? I'm like, all right, Kyle Chandler, you got like you have some like not big time, but you have well known kind of actors here, but they're not getting paid millions of dollars. They're getting paid less than $1 million probably to do these roles. So like versus like the people in this movie, they're all Japanese actors that probably are not getting paid a lot. So it's like, where on earth is it literally all CGI? And if it is, then like I think these MonsterVerse movies could even take a little cut in CGI and maybe focus on other things, like maybe get even a better actor or get a more well-rounded story, so better actors would want to come to your movie, and obviously they would demand more money. Use your budget for that, maybe. I don't know, but I think that this was clearly something where legendary Warner Bros. The MonsterVerse is going to be looking at and say, we got to do something more like this after we're done with this MonsterVerse thing.
And they did set up a sequel with this film. They did.
That was
That
That
was
also
something
was
where I
a
was like, I wish they didn't do that. Like, let it stand on their own.
it stayed away from the roots, or like the roots of this movie was like, oh, this is a standalone project, one and done. But then it's like,
And
oh, you made this into a universe potentially.
yes, it was on the table, but also like this movie just honored the legacy of Godzilla so goddamn well. Like it just the Godzilla scenes felt like I remember when 1998 Godzilla came out. I was very young. I was like 4 years old, and like I remember like the Mattel toys and like the action figures that people were selling. But it was like new age, like city Godzilla, right? And this one just felt like I felt like I was back, and like you're talking about 1954. This is like post World War II, like late 1940s. Like it felt like it was just honoring the legacy there. But like acting wise, you talk about bringing up different like potential names in the future of the franchise. Couple performances I just want to shout out. Uh, Minami Hamabe, who plays Noriko, I thought she was an excellent part of this cast, and she is definitely like I would say like the heart for the at least the first half of this movie, and I think she grounds the movie a lot, and it's like that post-war type of story that you really latch onto. And are we doing spoilers? Are we doing spoilers here? Want to do
I
spoilers?
say go see it. Let's say go see it.
Okay, we'll leave it. Okay, but there is a decision made with her character that really it's just because I was so invested in her character, it gets me a little like upset when I think about it. Right,
Wild move. It was a wild move.
when I couldn't believe it when it happened, and then it leads to another wild decision later on in the movie. I think it's kind of a flaw of the movie, but also the lead here, Rinosuke Kamiki, who plays Sekishima, who is the main character. I don't think I've ever seen a main character done so dirty by a writer since like Adrian Brody and the Pianist. Like he is just down bad the entire movie. The whole time he's like he's a pilot, a kamikaze pilot who deserts his post. He is a guy who's responsible for the death of soldiers on Odu Island. He comes back, his parents are dead. It's like how I just thought of like the meme or gif of Adrian Brody walking, looking all beaten up at the end of basically the start of the third act of The Pianist. Like he was down bad for a lot of this movie.
Yeah, it was pretty much one tone the entire movie for this guy.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. That's just the way this character is written. But it worked.
You're rooting for him by the end. You're rooting for him.
I was rooting for him the whole time.
Yeah. But like there's times where he comes off a little bit
Yeah,
I
with
guess
like his
he's just
daughter and stuff.
non-respectful, disrespectful, or just like selfish in a word, but a lot of growth from him.
Yeah, agreed.
Uh okay. What else here? Anything. I guess we could. Do you have any flaws?
I have one last thing.
Yeah, just go.
We had one of the most obnoxious snorers in our theaters today.
Oh, we did. Yes, very loud.
This guy, it's like we're coming near the climax of the movie. He's like, everyone was like, "What the hell is up, buddy?" This movie's already in Japanese, and we have to focus so much. We can't be having a snorer coming over here. It was absurd.
Everyone else was locked in.
Yeah, like this guy's is like disrespectful. Like this isn't like like a 18 out of 100 movie. Like you might want to leave the theater. No, I'm just gonna take a little nap. Fine. You know what? Fine. But
we went to go see this movie at 10:30 in the morning. Like
Godzilla.
Like, how is this guy sleeping right now? Like, why did you sign up for 10:30 in the morning if you're just gonna sleep? Sleep in and go see it at 12:30.
It's a Godzilla's freaking roaring right in his face, and he's just snoring his heart out. God, I don't know how it's possible in this movie. It was so loud.
That's a good point, Ricky Flex. That was so disrespectful. And like it's in subtitles, so it's like you can't even like close your eyes and listen to the movie. You have to watch it. You have to have your eyes on the screen.
Subtitles not a problem. Again, I'm a subtitles like fan. I like subtitles. So for me, but if you aren't a subtitles fan, still go see this. Awesome movie.
Okay. Flaws? Any other flaws, or do you want to get?
I think we said all my flaws. Kind of, you could have been shorter. Kind of repetitive with the main character here, and wild ending, as in like very end, wild.
Yeah, bold decision. Gave it the Hollywood feel. Scores. What do you give Godzilla -1?
Give it a 92.
Wow, I give it a 90. Right, you're a little ahead of me on this one. Okay, that does it for a review of Godzilla -1. Now we slide.